can still remember what it was like the first time I stepped into a race car. The sound of the engine, the anticipation, but I never could have imagined where this journey would take me. My father once told me that racing is just like life. You have to stay on your toes, because you never know what's around the next corner. My name is Bill Watson, and this is my story.
Desert climates are harsh and unforgiving. With survival being the main focus of every living creature, it tends to create extreme and unique residents in its dry, hot living space. So it seems fitting that when a racetrack was built out in dusty Arizona, it wound up being an oval like no other. Will it have a sting in its tail for the drivers? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the Sim Racers for Mental Health Truck Series presented by Shine MSD. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Chris, I mentioned this track is unique, but for our audience, tell us a few ways this place sticks out amongst all the other ovals.
Well, this is a very legendary track, 1 mile in length, very low banking, 8 to 11 degrees, variance throughout the corners. A 100-lap race on the docket this evening, and this is a very unique track, as you mentioned. It's a tri-oval, but not in the traditional sense that we're used to, a little asymmetrical, different degrees of banking throughout the corners. It's been recently renovated, so the surface itself is a little more forgiving than some, but with that low banking, we're going to see probably a few bumpers come into play. But there is a fairly definitive second groove, and sometimes when drivers try to shortcut the dog leg there, you'll see them sometimes 5 and 6 wide around this track. So while we keep that in mind, we'll throw it over to our lap guide and take a virtual tour of the ISM Raceway.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Brian Yazek, taking you for a spin around Phoenix International Raceway in the GSRC Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck. Phoenix is a fun little 1 mile oval, and I'll show you just why. So coming off here into turn 1, braking right after about that 2 cones up there on the wall. Find this yellow line down here, back into the gas, let it float all the way up to the wall, and then for series that run this open dog leg, you drive straight across that, bypass that whole thing, drive straight up to the fence, brake it about just after the 2 cones on the wall up there and again in the fence. Let it roll through 3 and 4 better than I did. Easy getting back onto the gas because the truck makes enough power to make it real squirrely off of turn 4. Even on lap 2 here, don't get on the binders too hard because then the rear of the truck's you're going to get real loose getting in. Still back onto the gas, let it float up here to the wall, keep arcing it left and just drive it pretty much straight across this, straight up, aim at those cones right there, and then back onto the brakes. Let it float through the middle here, and then watch the braking, get back into it. It gets a little squirrely, so you really have to mind the gas and watch that wall because it gets up there in a heartbeat. But across the line, that's going to complete our track guide here around Phoenix. I'm Brian Yazek. Enjoy the show.
As you can see, while we had to send our truck out in the middle of the day while they weren't practicing, and it was probably pretty hot at that point, nice and cool here in the evening. But the championship rounds have been ticking off, and so that means we've got championship points to cover. Connor Boris is up at the top of it with Jared Mogard chasing him relatively closely, as well as Joseph Mile back there in third. You can see only 8 points separating second and third. But again, this is a championship which involves a chase at the end, a playoffs at the end. So the drivers really mainly want to focus on being in those top 10. Jack Wells and Cody Tripp are currently the ones on the outside looking in closest of those. What about the race details, though, for today's race? Chris, what's the race itself going to involve?
Well, as we mentioned, this is round 8 of 14. The chase will begin following the next round. We'll be seeing the Silverado and the Toyota Tundra out there. It is a fixed setup event. The fuel levels are restricted, so we'll see at least 1 or 2 pit stops during this event. No spare car allowed, so these drivers will have to keep it clean or deal with the consequences.
Certainly, and thankfully it's been pretty clean racing most of the season from what we've seen. These drivers do pretty well amongst each other. As we watch qualifying work its way through, we're just waiting, warm-up to work its way through, just waiting for qualifying to start. Actually, right now, Connor Crichton, the fastest up there. But what surprises me, Chris, is Tyler Foti seems to have found himself some real pace here at Phoenix, and he's currently sitting second in practice. Do you think that has much bearing on race and qualifying pace? Is practice just kind of its own thing, or is it really something to watch out for?
You know, it hasn't been the greatest indicator of what we see in the race. As we kind of mentioned off mic, this is a late arriving crowd in this series, so a lot of the top competitors not showing up until the latter part of practice. And then you have drivers that maybe have a little less experience with the series, like Tyler Foti, who's only done a couple races so far this season. He's been up there in every practice session, but as we saw in our last race, he had some struggles with the handle on his truck. So you got to have a lot of guys trying things right now, and we could give an indication for what we're going to see in the race, but a lot of it's experimenting and trying to get the track dialed in.
Certainly, especially with such a unique asymmetrical track that we've got here today. I mean, what are some of the challenges that faces these drivers on each end? Like, how do they compare to each other? Because at least even from above, you can tell they look completely different.
Yeah, it's always challenging when you have a track with turns that have such a different radius to it, because it's really hard to find a rhythm. You know, you get on a more symmetrical oval track like a Dover or Bristol, and you can kind of get into a groove and just click off lap after lap after lap, but you can't really get lost in the track, so to speak, at a place like this, because your exit off of turn 4 and your exit off of turn 2 are totally different. The way you approach the corners is totally different. So with a track with a layout like this, you have a lot of thinking that you have to do, more so than just instinctive driving.
Just about 3.5 minutes left now on this warm-up. Taking a look through the order. As we mentioned, we've got actually see 15 drivers now showing up. With this being something of a short track at about 1 mile in length, shouldn't be too much of an issue. Having 15 drivers out there should still get some great action. As we watch Todd work his way around Slauson, currently sitting 7th on the timing sheets. Does this track do much to tires, especially with these cool conditions we've got out here? We've gone to tracks before where they have that sort of cheese grater effect that they call. I mean, is it a concern to try and conserve them towards the end of the race?
I mean, to a certain extent, I feel like you always have to try to maintain the tires a little bit, but this is a relatively new surface, and I don't think it's too inherently harsh on the tires in and of itself. It is a low banked track, so you have those centrifugal forces working on the tires that always unnerve you a little bit. But I think for the most part, I think tires won't be as big a problem as they will be in some of the other events later on in the season.
We'll keep an eye on that, especially with pit stops and how those play out with the yellows, who comes in and who doesn't. Another one of those unique features, though, really, to me here is that pit exit. Now, thankfully, we don't have to worry about it, I think, quite as much, since we don't have the open dog leg here, so drivers won't really be cutting too far down and should be able to see someone coming. But is the pit entry itself also difficult here? Some of these ovals pit entry, we've seen cars just spin themselves out all by themselves before.
Yeah, I mean, really, with just how new this layout of the Phoenix track is, I think that alone is a challenge when you're used to how things were before. I think another aspect of it is that this series in general has seemed to struggle with pit road. We saw it in our last event a couple weeks back where we had probably 4 or 5 different incidences just at the entrance onto pit road. I think for these guys, for whatever reason, that seems to be an Achilles heel for a lot of these drivers.
Also, start your car jar now for each time that I refer to these as cars instead of trucks. So I'll try to stay diligent on that one. As just getting to the end of the warm-up now, I see that Brandon Anderson has moved ahead of Fody in the warm-up into second. Still waiting on Connor Boris, who is our points leader, to get a lap on the board. I think he only just arrived recently. So this could be putting him under the gun, having little to no practice in these conditions before qualifying. He's only just now getting up to speed, so he might only have one lap at pace.
Well, Connor's been a pretty consistent top runner for the majority of the season, so not too much of a problem for him to sneak in here without getting too much practice time. He seems to thrive in those situations.
We'll see if he thrives today, because with just about 3 seconds left, warm-up is now over, and drivers will have to get out there. They will get 2 timed laps here for qualifying, and they must be clean. You can't brush the wall. You can get as close as you dare, but as soon as you get that 0x, the lap is discounted. So let's see who gets out first, who tries the track first, and who waits to see what others are driving, maybe to spy a little bit and see if they can have themselves a little bit of reconnaissance. Apologies for losing picture. We'll have that back in just a moment here. But I can tell you that Millet, Wells, Fody, and Boris are the first ones to get out on track. Chris?
Yeah, you mentioned that 0 incident cap for the qualifying laps, and man, that was always a challenge for somebody with such limited skill as me, but thankfully we've hopped into the announcing booth, so now I can just talk about other people doing it.
Yeah, those who can't do teach, right? So don't worry, I'm in the same boat. I've never been a terribly fast driver. But they're just getting the first timed laps in now as they finish the warm-up lap. I think Joseph Millet going to be the first one to cross the line here. Let's see what he puts up on the board. At 25.8 is the mark set. What is everybody else going to do after that?
Oh, and immediately Tyler Fody to the top of the charts, the 25.668. So he's quite a bit faster than his qualifying time relative to Joseph Millet, who actually slowed down a little bit compared to practice.
And it looks like Joseph has abandoned his second lap, so that is it for Millet, one of our typically top runners and one of our few winners so far this season. The number 93 is stuck with what he's got, already being slotted down to third as Connor Boris goes quicker and into second. See Cody Tripp there abandoning one of his laps. Not sure if he got across the line. They can stop the lap on their warm-up lap if they don't cross the start-finish line and have it not count and get back to the pits and restart if they don't like how it's going. Jody Banfield on screen, currently 7th, and his second lap is not an improvement, so he will go no higher than 7th. Is this a track where qualifying is very important, Chris? Is passing at a premium here?
I think that's a pretty fair assessment with, like I mentioned before, the low banking, passing opportunities. A lot of it's going to come from the chrome horn, more or less. There is a second groove a bit, but it does take a little time to work its way in. So could definitely be a priority to get qualified up front.
Currently watching Todd Slauson, who's just finishing that second lap now at 26.0. And then nothing for his second lap. He must have brushed the wall on that one. The 33 puts it in 7th. See, Cody Tripp is still out there running laps. His first one also didn't count, but his second one did, and it's a 25-7. That is good enough for the front row. What a recovery for the number 21.
Yeah, Cody rocking a new paint scheme this week as well. Looks very, very nice on his 21.
Listening to the stewards giving just a little bit of info for the drivers currently. Got a number of trucks who have not put a time in yet. Mogard, Crichton still out there. I think he's on his first time lap. Josh Walker as well. Cole Bushman still sitting in the pits, and so is Brandon Anderson. With about a minute left, they've got to get out now if they want to get at least one lap in. Right and up to fourth with that second row.
Yeah, looks like he's clipping along pretty well right now.
25-8 for his first one. Let's see what turns 3 and 4 hold for him. All the way out to the wall. Does he push harder? He tries to, but it doesn't do it. He comes up short, 0.2 slower on the second lap for him. Bogard's first lap is good enough for fifth, just behind Crichton by about 11/100ths of a second. He comes around 3 and 4 now. He's going to be our last one to be able to put a time in. Everybody else is essentially done at this point. 25.9, another 10th slower for the double lot car. So that is going to be everybody for our qualifying. That gives us time to go through our starting grid with, interestingly, we were surprised at his warm-up pace, and it looks like Tyler Fode's backed it up with qualifying. First for him on the pole, Cody Tripp, starting on the outside of that front row with Connor Boris, our points leader, starting in third. Connor Crichton will be in P4. Jared Mogard will be in fifth. Then it's Scott Ricard in sixth position. Joseph Millet, surprisingly, down low in seventh with that second lap being abandoned. Colton Lane will be in eighth. William Kruska in P9, rounding out the top 10. Chris, it's going to be Todd Slauson.
Jody Banfield will be 11th on the grid with Jack Wells in 12th. Our last driver to take a time, lucky number 13 on the grid, will be Josh Walker. Then we have a few drivers did not make an attempt. Jason Stewart, Cole Bushman, Brandon Anderson, and Justin Jarrett will round out our 17 truck field.
Tend to like to put our co-commentators on the spot a lot of the time, so I'll give you one of my traditional questions, Chris. Who's your pick for the win today?
That's going to be a tough one. This has been such a evenly matched season that we've had. I think a driver like Cody Tripp could definitely be a favorite. He's had some tough breaks earlier on in the year, but he's a strong contender, very fast today. I think he may be my pick to win.
We'll see if he can hold it down. We're waiting for the rest of the field to line up. Then we'll give a single pace lap and we'll go racing for 100 laps here at ISM Raceway near Phoenix, out in the middle of the desert. You can see them going to be starting from the pit lane. Then the Mustang pace car will lead them up onto the banking and around. I believe Justin Jarrett, the last of the field. We're waiting to get out here. Let's see if Justin is here, though. He is in the server right now, so he should be able to grid up. Let's hope that he grids up. He's going to lose a lot of time if he has to start from pit lane. I believe that is the last of the opportunities, so I think as our laps come up there, no, pace car has not taken off. Now it's heading away. So Justin Jarrett, unfortunately, going to have to kick things off the hard way. He'll be hoping for an early caution for sure. Up and into the dog leg they go.
This has been as we mentioned, a really evenly matched season these drivers have been having so far. So I'm really excited to get this one underway. Some different drivers up towards the front of the field and some really strong contenders towards the back. So this should be a really
Tyler Fode is yet to take a win this season. He's got his first pole, I believe, as well. I need to double check that stat. Can he convert it? Pace car peels off down to the pit lane. Fode has control. green flag is out. He checks everyone up big time. Doesn't get the best of jumps, though. He slots up to the high side, then cuts down low as Connor Boris follows into second place. Cody Tripp slots back next to Jared Mogard. Very calm start through the first half of the first lap.
That one lane limit on the dog leg down there, I feel like that's going to possibly throw a wrench in things for a few of these drivers once we get those cones all knocked all over the track.
Cody Tripp is struggling here at the start. He's just been passed by Joseph Mille now for fourth, although gets a little bit of an over-under. He'll get down to the inside of Joseph. Cody Tripp looking to take that one back. They're our first side-by-side battle at the top of the pack. And indeed, looks like Mille is going to slot back into line. No, he's not. He's going to come back at it again, Chris.
Yeah, great crossover move by Mille to try to take back over the position. I think Tripp was a victim of starting on that outside lane. He fell back at the start, and unfortunately, once he was able to get to the bottom, was able to snag back one of those spots. But Joseph Mille, very strong in the early running, so he took that spot right back.
Mille, but just ahead of him, a challenge for second place. Jared Mogard took a look on Connor Boris. Boris was not interested in giving that one up. You could see the double lot still putting pressure on, getting right underneath the bumper, and gives him a hello. There's that chrome horn you were talking about, Chris.
Yeah, although that was not really the part of the track I was expecting to see it on this early. But nonetheless, Mogard's going to take the spot. Ooh, and Boris gives him a little shove as they come off the turn 4.
This is very early in the race for the drivers to start out with contact. And Crichton's had a problem. He's falling down the field. I think, well, he himself had some contact. I believe that was with Kruzka. Let's take a look at the replay and find out. Ooh, there you see it right off of 4. Nice catch by both cars, though.
The quarter in the truck jar.
Thank you. Chris, keeping me honest here.
That was quite a big moment there for Crichton. He started fourth on the grid. He's now at the back of the field just about, I believe.
Yeah, that hurts. So we come back live. Crichton is indeed. Jarrett never started the race, unfortunately, so that means of our 16 cars, Crichton now rolling around in the back. Meanwhile, back to the top 3. Jared Mogard has pulled a little bit of a gap to Boris. Now that he's gotten by him, but Tyler Fode as well is keeping himself at arm's length from the rest of the field, about a half a second between the two of them.
Now, Joe, looks like Connor Boris having some trouble. So, tough. We'll take a quick look back at it on board with our third place runner, or was our third.
And he actually touched the wall here coming off before he washed up. Oh yeah, saw some bent sheet metal on the right front of the truck. That puts him down to 4th. Joseph Mille managed to get by, but he stopped it before Cody Tripp could overtake. We're only 10 laps into this race already, having seen a lot of action. Cones are seeing a lot of action out there too.
Yeah, somebody just sprayed the cones all over the track.
But a look to the inside down through 3 and 4 from Cody Tripp as we rode on board with Boris.
You know, one element of this event that we haven't really touched on, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I can't do math. This is the last event before the chase begins for this series.
Well, if you can't do math, you'll fit right in at GSRC, so don't worry, Chris. Meanwhile, on screen, you can see that Tripp continues to drive a very different line, it seems, from Boris through 3 and 4.
Yeah, he's even running probably about a half lane to a full lane lower than him in 1 and 2 as well. But I guess if you can't beat him, then try to do something different than him. And here he goes to the inside of Boris as they head into turn number 3.
And it seems like he gains in the first part, and then that high side is giving Boris a great shot down the front stretch. So 52 seems to have discovered something as rivals haven't.
Yeah, well, I do believe this track is progressively banked. It's not banked very severely by any means, but that little bit of a bank can give him a little bit of a run off the turn.
Oh, and Slauson falls to the back now. I think this was down out of turn 2. Oh, it's just in front of Josh Walker. Ooh, Walker have a fantastic perspective of this. Slauson managed to catch the truck before it found the wall, thankfully, but Walker having a little bit of a scary moment here. Woo! Had to pick low or high. He picked low, and he chose wisely. Meanwhile, let's go back to Cody Tripp because he's now trying what Connor Boris was trying. He's got the truck to the high side. He's going to see if this works a little bit better than that low line he kept working on. And don't look now, but just in front of them, there's also a battle for second place between Millet and Mogard. Now that that's settled out, let's go up to Mogard because he's got the double aught to the inside of Millet's left rear quarter panel. Can't make it stick, though.
You know, these late races on the East Coast are messing with my brain a little bit. Took me like 3 seconds to figure out what double aught meant. So, chalk that one up as a win for you, Joe.
Boy, it has gotten a little bit frantic up at the front. Even though Mogard has dropped off, the battle for fourth place that Tripp currently holds has now been joined. It's not only Boris and Rickard there, but Jody Banfield has joined it. It has become a 4-car train.
Well, Banfield
truck train.
Another quarter in the jar.
Yes.
Banfield has been very strong for a good portion of this season, and starting 11th is a little bit out of character for him, so not surprised to see him marching his way up through the field.
Well, I could get a pass on that one because trains have cars. They don't have trucks, right?
Yeah, I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Now, is it...
Rickard look into the inside of Boris a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that Boris had a passenger there for about half a lap with one of those cones wedged underneath the front of his truck.
Ooh. And that sometimes can affect your pace, we've seen, at least on the roadside, I know it can. So, bad news for him. I'll tell you what, though, we've got a mover in the pack. Brandon Anderson, despite not getting a qualifying lap in, has gone from 16th to 9th recently. He's just passed Billy Kruska. And now he's set his sights on that train that we were watching before. Jody Banfield is the next one in line.
Brandon Anderson has just flat out been bad fast all season. He's got a couple wins earlier on in the campaign, and he's been doing a tremendous job every week. And this is not the first time that he's skipped qualifying either, as we got a battle now shaping up front.
Fody, for the first time, has had to relinquish the top spot. Joseph Millet has caught him and passed him. Now, I'm curious to see if this was a mistake or if he just ran him down.
So we're going to take
a few laps.
Yeah, take a look back at the pass.
It was down to the inside. And from what I saw looking back a few laps, it looks like Millet just straight ran him down. Now, remember, Joseph was the one that abandoned his second qualifying lap. He started in 7th place, so I'm starting to think qualifying was not representative of what the 93's got underneath him.
Now, I do wonder, though, would Tyler Fode's lap pace that time around been a little bit stronger had his number been 33 higher?
You're banking on him changing that someday.
It's too perfect to not use.
Yes, I agree. Maybe someday, maybe next season, we can convince him to change. Meanwhile, we got to go back to Mogard in 3rd. This train keeps getting bigger. Cody Tripp now has caught up to him, and he's brought along all of his friends, including Brandon Anderson in there. So this is, we have 6 cars. Oh, he's to the inside. As Cody Tripp seeing if he could manage to get himself onto the podium, coming through 1 and 2. Cody, Tripp, gunning it off the corner. Jared Mogard looking to hold the momentum on the high side that we've seen work a few times here in this progressive banking. The 0-0 almost wheel to wheel, and they come together. Actually gives them a push.
Yeah, those two about close enough to exchange phone numbers on that one, but it looks like Tripp may have the advantage as they head through the dog leg, but now he's got a bumper full of Connor Boris.
Oh, and that was a big touch. Everybody comes out the other side. Jody Banfield, though, going to get by. Another little touch, and the trucks come together. They spin. Connor Boris is turned around completely as Scott Rickert also gets a lot of damage. I think Brandon Anderson maybe escaped that. He was involved at first. I think he had a little contact.
Yeah, it looks like the back quarter on the 24 are a little bit jacked up.
Let's watch the replay on that one. See if we can rewind. It was just out of turn 4. I think that was all kicked off with Boris getting a little loose from the touch from Banfield. Yeah, looks like just got checked up. 52 was a passenger almost. Let's watch from Banfield's perspective. This is where it all kind of started. Down onto the front stretch. He sees a way in. Then coming into 3 and 4. Oh, all right. Well, maybe we missed it there. So we'll come back live because we've got pit stops happening now.
Yeah, pit road getting hot and heavy.
Absolutely. Fody lost the lead on the track. Can he get it back in the pits? He's going to have the top pit spot. Meanwhile, Mile is going to be well back there, having qualified in 7th. There's the number 7, taking right sides. Does he take all 4? Yes, he does.
Mealy had a very clean pit stop. He's up and away and had a pretty good gap on everybody else as he exited pit lane.
Fody comes out behind him. Mogard going to come out in 4th, and Banfield in P5. That's going to take us to a chance for a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with more racing here in the Sim Racers for Mental Health, presented by Shine MSD, so don't go away. Welcome back to Phoenix, to ISM Raceway, where we are watching round 8 for the Sim Racers for Mental Health. Joseph Mile is your leader. He overtook the number 7 on the track, and I asked whether or not Fody would be able to overtake him in the pits. The answer was no. He returned in second place. What kind of start can he get, though, compared to the number 93? We'll find out in just a second, because that pace car is peeling in. Number 93 truck has control. He is waiting a long time. Oh, it's long enough that he actually caused a little bit of a jump start from the truck behind. That was Cody Tripp getting into him. Now the 7 dives down low but gets cut off as Tyler Fody slots into second place. It's a battle for third between Mogard and Tripp.
Yeah, I wonder if that 21 truck of Cody Tripp maybe got a little nervous after falling victim to that initial start early on and dropping a bunch of spots then. Maybe he got a little antsy and didn't want to get caught out and ends up catching the 93 in the back, but doesn't seem to be hurting Mealy at all as he jumps out and leads that first lap back under green.
Tripp continuing to hassle Mogard at every opportunity. He's got the nose down to the inside. They come up to 3 and 4. He sends it in deep, but that low side, it just hasn't seemed to have produced great results so far. Off the corner once again, momentum in favor of Mogard.
And here's Bill Kruska up in that mix as well in the 88 truck. First time we've really heard anything from him. And he's got a great view of this battle between Tripp and Mogard as Mogard mows down the row of cones there. Kruska is now going to be the outside of Tripp for the position.
Yeah, Kruska qualified 9th position. Whoa, down low. What happened to Mogard? I missed it.
I had an eye on him, and it looks like he just pulled out of the way. I'm really not sure what the reasoning behind that was.
On the roadside, we have what's called a slowdown penalty if you cut the course. Did they give that if you go too far in the inside the cones here? So, as we come back live, even though Tyler Fody got passed recently, the number 7 is stuck firmly to the back of Joseph Mealy, and they have gapped Kruska something fierce.
Yeah, Fody closing in quite a bit, just under 2/10 the gap, and it's closing quickly as they head down the dog leg. Fody getting right to Mealy's back bumper, looks to the outside now through 3 and 4, and looks like he's going to possibly try to cross him over and get a run on the inside off turn 4.
You know, last time, remember, Tyler seemed to have pulled at least about a half-second gap to the trucks behind. It almost makes me wonder if Tyler's stronger early on the run and Joseph is stronger later.
I could definitely see that because, like you mentioned, at the beginning of that last run, Tyler Fody at one point had like a half-second advantage. And right now, he is knocking on the door trying to get that lead back.
This is certainly bad news for Tyler if he finds himself stuck here and he starts to lose pace once again, because I'm sure he'd prefer to be ahead where he could maybe use that gap to his advantage. Let's jump a little bit farther back in the field, though, because Mogard's trying to climb his way back through. He's gotten up to 7th. He's on the inside of Cole Bushman. Now he's ahead of Cole Bushman as they come down through 3 and 4.
Yeah, still a very strange incident with Mogard losing the positions he did, but he's definitely on the move and working his way back up quickly.
A little bit of connection problem there momentarily for Bushman, and he blinks away again on my screen. Sure, Mogard's glad he's past him now. But they've got another little train forming. That's Stewart, Crichton, and Lane. 3 cars we haven't looked at a whole lot so far. Getting a little bunched up.
Yeah, Connor Crichton's had a pretty tough go of it, so good to see him getting closer to being up in the mix. He dropped back pretty early on in the race and marching his way back up through the...
On board with the driver of Connor Crichton right now. Oh, and another little mistake from Mogard. He gives away the inside as Cole Bushman finds the speed off of 4. This also offers an opportunity, for Jason Stewart. Now he gets into 8th place and now severely dropping back. What is going on for the Double O?
You know, he drove through the cones again on the last lap. I wonder if your theory about the slowdown lap may be something that is actually happening for him. Because it seems like every time he drives and mows through those cones, right after that, he ends up dropping a bunch of spots.
He's really got to get that under control. Let's go a little bit ahead of Mogard, though. So we continue to watch this battle playing out, which was essentially for 7th place, being led by Bushman, but starting to pull a gap on the trucks behind. Jason Stewart and the number 14, seeing if he could reel him back in. Colton Lane not looking too bad as well. Been a little bit anonymous this race. Started in 8th, fell back to 10th, but certainly hovering around and ready to scoop up a couple spots should anything unfold.
Yeah, Colton Lane, a relatively new name to the series. So far, a very quiet event for him, but sometimes that's how you find yourself in contention at the end, is just you run your race, keep to yourself, and then you're there at the end.
On board with Colton, the Mid-South driver. Still has Jared Mogard in his mirrors that you can't see right now. So he could yet still lose a position depending on what's going on with Mogard. We still haven't quite sussed out exactly what is the cause of his positions slipping through his fingers. Oh, he's very low once again that you could see through the dog leg.
I have come up with the hypothesis that I'm pretty sure Jared Mogard hates traffic cones.
Well, he's certainly hating being down in 11th. He wants to get back into the top 10. And he's going to try and take it away from the 60 truck. But it doesn't quite work on the low side of 1 and 2. By the way, for those wondering, we're not missing anything up front. Mile and Foti are about a half a second apart from each other, but they have pulled away from the rest of the pack by a second and a half. So they're just cruising on their own.
Yeah, Bill Kruzka up in the 3rd spot as well, kind of on an island himself. So things quiet up front, but definitely towards the mid-pack and towards the back of that field, it's pretty much a hornet's nest right now.
Which makes the green flag racing all the more impressive as we take a look at 4th place. This is Tripp being chased by Jody Banfield. He's keeping him honest, but only one caution so far out of 47 laps of racing. We're already almost halfway through. Way down low for Jody Banfield, all the way underneath the yellow line. That is fair game. Cody Tripp trying the high side. They come out actually a little bit more in favor of Banfield. Maybe that low entry working.
Yeah, we haven't really seen anybody utilize that line yet so far today, and looks like Jody Banfield pulled that out of his bag of tricks, and it's worked to his advantage.
Incredibly, we've still got 14 drivers on the lead lap as well out of our 17 starters. 2 DNFs, Boris, actually 1 DNF and 1 DNS, with Jarrett being out. Scott Rickard, the only driver who is laps down. Continue to watch this battle on screen. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you got to feel for Brandon Anderson down there as we look towards the back of the field as well. He was involved in that first caution and unfortunately suffering some after effects from that. And he's out there clicking off laps, but unfortunately about 14 seconds off and about 5 seconds away from his nearest competitor. So a tough break for that very fast driver who's had a very impressive season so far. This race not going the way he would like.
Yeah, he was frustrated after the incident. He had to get repairs, and they were lengthy. Back up to 8th position. Stewart leading Creighton, leading Lane, and they've dropped Mogard. Creighton looking to take a peek to the inside, down into 1 and 2, but he is well far back. Not sure that this is really a serious attempt.
Oh, look at Colton Lane there, sticking his nose in the mix as well.
He's working that high side. Stewart running a bit of a high lane as well. Crichton get the low line to work. He's trying. And unfortunately, as we keep seeing, momentum seems to be a thing hard to grasp off of turn 4 if you come off low. Lane once again on the high side, but doesn't work nearly as well through 1 and 2. They swing through the dog leg and go single file once more.
Yeah, the inside line seems to be the preferred path through 1 and 2, but definitely not the same to be said about 3 and 4.
Officially past halfway in this race. Believe we'll need at least one more pit for fuel. We're trying to confirm to see if we can get some details on that. There apparently was a little bit of an error in the race that we're trying to clarify as far as the fuel goes. Ooh, way high this time through 3 and 4 for Stewart.
But it doesn't seem to hurt him. In fact, ooh, he tags the wall there going down the front straightaway, though. That might hurt him a little bit.
Certainly don't want to tag the wall. I'm sure that is a felony out here in Phoenix, as Jason Stewart could have a little bit of damage off of that one. Connor Crichton sizing him up again using the low line. He seems to like that through 3 and 4. Ooh, he's got a very good run, and he's actually got a nose ahead. Stewart could have to give this one up. 1 and 2, we've seen the high line not really work. He sends it in deep anyways. And look at that. Beautiful job by the number 19 truck to get into 8th position.
And how about Colton Lane just quietly walking into the crowd there and about to own the position as he works underneath the inside of the 14 of Jason Stewart. But again, that momentum helping Stewart on the outside to keep the spot, but Colton Lane not giving up on the inside in 1 and 2.
He certainly looked uncomfortable out of 4, but it's coming back to him, and we could see 3 wide as it looks like Mogard wants to throw his hat into the ring. He ducks down low now, and we are going 3 wide, down through 3 and 4. This might not end well. He washes up slightly. Mogard gets out of the throttle, manages to hold onto it. Somehow they come out the other end.
Don't look now, but here comes Todd Slauson in the picture as well.
Bogard still staying with it, thinking he could maybe get involved, but it's still too wide. Oh, through the dog leg. Almost getting into Stewart. Lane is now the one that has to abandon that effort. That allows Mogard through, but he goes down under him, gives him a little bit of a touch. 3 wide off the corner to the inside, taking advantage. A sneaky move by Todd Slauson to get to 10th.
You know, I'm not convinced that the 14 and the 60 didn't touch through the dog leg there that last lap, but obviously Stewart no worse for wear as he's taken the position, and we still got that battle going on behind.
Bogard might have it this time, down into 3. He was deep on the low side, manages to cover off the exit, move Mogard up to 11th, but that certainly didn't go how he would hope. I think he's still sitting in the same position he was before. Worked out wonderfully for Stewart, that's for sure. Checking back in on the leaders, Fody has cut that gap down to 0.2 of a second. Remember, it was 0.5 of a second before, and has run down Melee.
Yeah, he was able to run him down to this point earlier on in this last green flag run and kind of let him get away. I wonder if Mealy's falling off or if Fody just had a good run.
Hard to say. We've had a pretty long green flag run. In fact, I want to say this is longer than our first green flag run at this point. 34 laps since they last stopped. So we're probably talking about 33, 32 laps we've been green. Fody staying in the tire tracks of Joseph Mealy. A little bit of a lower line down through 3 and 4, and there's a caution. I spoke too soon, and I think this was a competition caution. I believe this is the information we were told earlier about the fuel that they messed up the fuel, so they are having competition cautions to bring the race back together.
Well, that's going to be great news for Bill Kruska and Cody Tripp. Those drivers have kind of been on the island a little bit, trying to get the field, or trying to get the leaders reeled back in. So could be an opportunity to change the game a little bit.
I expect everybody will be coming in at this point. And indeed, I am not seeing any drivers continue except for the lapped cars. Brandon Anderson, actually, no, Brandon wasn't a lapped car, was he?
No, Brandon, I believe, was still on the lead lap. He was quite a ways back, but he was still on the lead lap.
Well, this is an interesting ploy from the number 24. Meanwhile, everybody else is into their stall, Tyler Fode included. Last time he lost the race off pit lane with the leader, Joseph Millet. Everybody taking 4 fresh tires, and Millet just beats him out once again.
Yeah, Millet's been just about perfect on those pit stops.
Real quick, I want to watch to see if Anderson comes in this lap or if he stays out, and then we'll take a quick break here. And he's staying out. All right. He's going all in and buying the farm. So let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel, see if this gamble works out for the 24. Considering those are very old tires, we'll find out soon enough. Don't go away. Welcome back to ISM Raceway. If you need confidence to win a race here in the Sim Racers for Mental Health series, well, Anderson unfortunately didn't quite have it in his strategy because he eventually came in after all was said and done. At least that's what it looks like on the surface. It could be this was what he meant to do and pit later than everybody else. Regardless, Anderson did come in for tires, and he's going to be at the back as we get ready for the green flag because the Mustang pace car is in. Millet has control. He gets a good jump over Tyler Fode. Meanwhile, behind him, though, Kruska is stuck on the outside. He's going to try to take it in deep to fend off Cody Tripp, and it's going to work. He gets down to the low side and holds on to third. Oh, and there's the number 24 getting back out on track, though. Anderson goes a lap down just as the field streams by.
Tyler Fode was looking pretty sporty on that start as well. Not quite able to make the pass, but he sure got a heck of a run on the 93 as they went through 1 and 2 that last lap, and he's not letting them get too far away right now.
34 laps to go. So this time, I suspect Kruska's going to want to stay with those two, but the battle for 5th place getting very hot. Jared Mogard gets a new lease on life as he's now caught up to the leaders after falling back multiple times, but Josh Walker going to deny him of that as he uses the high side out of 4 to try and get into the top 5, and it works.
Josh Walker, one of those names we haven't really mentioned too much today, but finds himself, after starting 13th on the grid, finds himself marching his way up through the field, and maybe some lucky pit stop strategy.
Bushman's trying to mimic that. He started 15th. He's sitting 7th, looking at 6th. Doesn't quite work as he's fended off by Jared Mogard. They've got laps to sort this out, though. This is not over by any stretch of the imagination as the number 2 washes way up high out of turn 2. That not only allows Mogard by, but here comes Cole Bushman down into 3 and 4, trying to complete the pass, maybe looking for a 2-for-1 because he's got his nose in on Mogard. That doesn't quite work. The battle continues between himself and Walker.
Unfortunately, Walker giving up a couple positions and starting to feel like his number there. But he'll have to shrug it off and get going once again, try to get those spots back. But still, up where he's running at now, the highest he's been all race just about. And looks like we have a battle shaping up front.
That is Tyler Fody within a 10th of Joseph Mile and really starting to apply some pressure now. This is the closest we've seen him in a while. Fody staying right underneath that rear wing as they come through the dog leg, taking a look low and actually sticking his nose in.
Now that outside groove's been the power position through this turn. And looks like it's going to remain the same, but Fody going to make another run on the inside through 1 and 2 where it's worked out a little bit better. But Mealy not quite slamming the door, but not giving him a lot of room either.
Right now, the biggest fan of these two is the number 88, Billy Kruska, right behind them. He'd love to see some side-by-side racing, and he could have a shot at moving up to the top spot. Off a turn 4 one more time.
Yeah, Fody followed in Mealy's footprints there through 3 and 4, so kept the momentum up, and now he's going to try to bust it down to the bottom in 1 and 2. Not going to happen that time, but look at how close it is. He gets a run off the dog leg, sticks his nose in there, thinks better of it, backs off, and possibly discretion, the better part of valor. No, he dives to the inside of Mealy for the top spot off of turn 4.
Certainly likes to square off that late apex coming off the second half of the circuit. And I think this is starting to bring Kruska in. Look at that. He's down to 0.4 of a second. As we ride on board with Mile looking back, things are getting incredibly tense. And in all of this, they've still pulled away from the rest of the field. Mogard is a whole 1 second behind third place. Switch over the cameras to the 00, Cody Tripp. Trying to fight him for the 4th spot. Cole Bushman in the train, and then the number 2 of Walker.
Jared Mogard has faced a lot of adversity in this event, but as the Macho Man Randy Savage once said, the cream rises to the top. He's been very strong all race and finds himself at the front of the battle.
Into the lead, down to the inside of turns 1 and 2. The number 7 starting to get more aggressive now. Mile uses the high side to good effect. One of the few times we've seen that work on the first side of the circuit. As they come down to 3, though, he gets back into line.
Looks like Fody may have had to check up a little bit to avoid running into the back of Mealy in the entrance of 3, but doesn't seem to have hurt him too much as he is right there as they head into turn 1. He looks to the inside of the track. Mealy gives him room, but Mealy gonna hold it on the outside.
Still yet creeping forward, now down to 0.3 of a second. William Kruska is starting to threaten as these two try to sort this out for the top spot. Ticking off now under 25 laps to go left in this 100-lap race. We don't expect anybody should have to stop, but should we get a caution, we will probably see everybody in for tires. They are now catching Brandon Anderson once more. This is going to put him 3 laps down if they get by.
Yeah, I'm sensing a little bit of trepidation from your leaders as they close in on the lap truck.
24 tries to stay low here. See if he can pull out of the way, and indeed he's going to completely cut the dog leg, let them through. and make it easy on our leaders. Nicely done by Anderson.
Yeah, Brandon Anderson's been one of the top dogs in this series, so probably familiar with the respect game in this series. So very sportsmanlike move for a driver who's definitely frustrated with how his day has gone.
Undoubtedly. They'll probably want to forget this one. And to use a phrase from one of my cohorts, with 20 laps to go, it is time to boogie. Fody knows it. He's been pressuring Joseph Millet for the lead. But now that he's dropped off, it is already up to 0.3 of a second. Wonder if he used up those tires in that attack.
That'd be very unfortunate for him if that was the case. But like you mentioned, Millet pulling out to a pretty decent sized lead, and even Bill Kruska now dropping back a little bit as well. Kruska close to a second behind your leaders.
Let's go back to P6 because Josh Walker in a nice little side-by-side fight with Cody Tripp down through 3 and 4. It looks like Tripp discovering what everybody else has known for a while now, that low line in the second half of the course does not work. So he pushes himself back into the racing line, does the number 21. Following the purple number 2. Saw a little bit of smoke there. What was that? Oh, it was a connection problem for Bushman, it looks like.
You know, I got to say, Joe, ISM Raceway owes somebody a huge thanks, and that's whoever's supplying these traffic cones. Because they keep setting them up every lap, and somebody undoubtedly knocks them down. So I believe we're at possibly $5,000 worth of traffic cones destroyed so far in this race.
Yeah, the traffic cone business in Phoenix is doing phenomenal currently. As we look at our leaders, the number 7 regains himself. Tyler cuts it back down slightly to the number 93. Could he be going back on the attack? Could he have cooled the tires off a little bit? Now trying to see if he can attack the truck ahead. He's running out of laps to make something work, though. Again, Millet's had victories. I believe he's got 2 so far this season, whereas Tyler Fody has none. He would love to get his first win. And in fact, I believe that would put Tyler in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken.
If not, it's going to put him really close.
Fody is sitting 17th. So yeah, Fody is out of the playoffs right now. He needs this victory.
Unfortunately for him, Joseph Millet does not look like he's going to just lay over and let him have it.
Oh! Ooh. 7 gets the wall hard. Watch the replay quick, and then we'll have to come back soon because I think if he's hurt, and Kruska's going to get him easily. Here's the replay. 1 and 2. Oh. Solid thunk.
Well, so far he's able to hold the spot over Kruska, but I got to imagine that's probably going to just about eliminate his chances of victory.
Certainly looks like it. He's 1 second back from Millet. And Kruska is drooling now. He's thinking this could be possible. He's within about 0.3 of a second. He may be on the podium, but a second place would be even sweeter. And he's closing with each lap. I think the number 7 is limping. He's got to survive for 12 more laps here, Chris. I don't know if he's got it underneath him.
Yeah, when they looked at that in-truck camera on Fody, when he got the wall there, I mean, you could see how much that jerked the wheel. You got to believe there's at least something bent in the suspension on that truck.
He's hovering behind him, the 88, almost looking like a cat toying with its prey at this point. Is he just waiting, or is this the legit pace? Is maybe Fody starting to figure out how to get speed out of the truck again? And indeed, that last lap, he actually looked a little bit quicker than the 88. What a recovery. Going from losing time lap after lap to suddenly stretching it out to another tenth or two. And he continues to pull away. Let's jump away from that then. 6th place has got Walker, Tripp, and Banfield all in a trio. Banfield awful tight to the back of Cody, Tripp, and the number 21. Oh, and now to the inside of the number 21. We've seen this before. Banfield liking to dip it below the yellow line. Unfortunately, Tripp is able to fend him off.
Yeah, Cody Tripp still having a pretty solid day there in 7th after qualifying P2 and being pretty quick in practice as well. Kind of anticipated a bigger day from him, but he had some issues on the first start, and he's hung in there, but probably not the day that he expected, but still has not given up.
Well, welcome as we jump over to another battle here. Welcome to one of the other woes of being a GSRC commentator is the commentator's pick is something of a curse here. So Cody's probably going to want to have words with you afterwards. Stewart to the inside of Slauson doesn't pay off for the 14. Gets back in line in 11th place. Seven to go. We got to watch the front of the field. Kruska holding station at about 3.5 tenths back from Tyler Fode, but Fode continuing to drop off from Melee. It's up to 1.7 seconds to the lead.
Yeah, that one trip through the dog leg is going to be one of those moments that Tyler Fode definitely will wish he could have back. He's still able to keep a pretty solid pace, and he's doing a good job hanging on to 2nd spot. But unfortunately, he made his day a whole lot harder. It looks like Bill Kruska actually, commentator's curse again, as I mentioned it, he's closing the gap pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that number 7 has made his bed, and now he's having to lie in it. It's not looking terribly comfortable, even though he's got 5 laps to go. Kruska just ekes closer and closer each corner now. Oof. This is not boding well for Tyler. We ride on board with the 88, and now he's within a car length even, truck length.
Nice save.
I will be impressed if Tyler Fode manages to take home this 2nd place, especially after how hard he hit the wall and how much pressure he's enduring too.
You know, I gotta say, as far as this series goes, this event really has been a coming out party for Tyler Fode, though. He has been very strong in the early running, led some laps early on, and has been in 2nd place and has kept one of our top runners in this series honest for the duration of the event. So even with one mistake costing him the win, this is definitely a strong performance from Fode.
Is that a Pride Month joke?
It wasn't. It wasn't,
right,
but it is now.
But you'll take it. Yeah, exactly. So 2 to go at the line for Joseph Melee, the number 93. Oh, and a caution is out. Oh, and that was Jody Banfield. Well, well, well. I believe this will kick off the first time I will get to call a green-white checker here. Banfield through 3 and 4. Oh, he likes that low line, and I think he liked it a little bit too much. That was Lane getting into him solidly out of 4. Lane blew a motor out of that one, so I'm not sure that Lane's going to be able to partake in the green-white checkered. See this coming up very suddenly, and no place to go. So we come back live. For those not familiar with the green-white checker, I will let our oval expert do the honors, as I mostly come from the roadside. Chris, tell our audience exactly what's going to happen here.
Well, green-white checker is pretty much how it sounds. We'll stack them and re-rack them for another restart. basically extending the distance this race will go in order to get a checkered flag
Ooh.
finish. Oh, how about that? Tyler Fode staying out as the rest of the field comes down to pit. How
Oh, with
the
a number
turntables.
of cars back there, yeah. Number of trucks back there. I did it again.
Yeah, when we extend the race, we also extend the amount of time that you can call these cars. But as we
uh,
were mentioning, basically a green-white checker, exactly how it sounds. We're in an attempt to get a checkered flag finish. We'll run them 2 more laps, 1 lap green, next lap the white, and then the checkered flag will end the race. And I believe in this series we have 2 attempts at a green-white checker.
believe you are correct. Now, unfortunately, it looks like my timing and scoring might not still quite work with this, because I'm seeing Melee scored in front of Bushman, but Bushman is second on track. So we'll try and call it visually for everybody, just in case our timing and scoring doesn't work. But I have a feeling that Fode was wishing a few more trucks would have stayed out, just to give him more leeway between himself and Melee. Kruska as well. Kruska beat Melee out. And now it's fixed itself. Okay.
It's a bit unexpected with how great Joseph Mealy's been in pit lane all day.
I wonder if we'll have to go back and check. I wonder if Kruska took 2 tires. I think your theory on Mogard not liking cones is correct, because even here in the pace laps, he just ducked it down and took them all out. So
There's got to be some like irrational childhood trauma that he's just taking out on those cones.
clearly, yeah. What have you got against cones, Jared? They're
Why
working.
can't-
They're working hard down there.
Why can't we just be friends?
So I believe we'll double up this time by. Lights are on currently, but we're coming to the line now. Oh, this is exciting. Is this our first green-white checkered on GSRC even? Oh boy, I get to call history here. So Tyler Fode has the inside. He's got the lead, and he's got a little space back to Melee, but he's got old tires. Can the number 7 hold things off? He's also got a damaged truck, a huge thunk to the outside of turn 2. What is this going to mean for Tyler Fode? He needs this win to take himself into the playoffs. You can understand the gamble for the number 7. They've been running green for quite a while now. 30-lap old tires. What's this gonna do? Can he keep the tires from spinning even as we take to the green? Mustang pace car peels into the pit lane. Fode has control of the field. He takes off early, and he takes off well. He pulls a nice little gap to Cole Bushman, who is in second under threat from Jared Mogard. Mogard is able to take it way deep down into the first corners, already to the rear bumper of Tyler, Chris.
Yeah, Mogard licked the stamp and sent it on that one. He is right to the back bumper of Fode, and we may have a whole new contender we didn't even plan on as now he gets to the outside. Oh, they touch! Mogard into the wall, and now they're passing him. Oh my gosh. Joseph Mealy takes the lead.
Guess who's to the front? Joseph Mealy. We won't have a caution from here. It is a nightmare scenario for the number 7, who washes out and continues to fall backwards. Joseph Mealy, the number 93, moves to the front as we have a battle for second behind him between Kruska and Cody Tripp, but that doesn't matter to the number 93. Joseph Mealy is going to take the victory as cars, trucks, a wreck behind him. And Fode wrecked out, I'm seeing.
Yeah,
What in the world happened?
I had eyes on Fode, and unfortunately he just kind of got bullied around a little bit and found himself parked facing the wrong way on the backstretch.
So Kruska, well, here we're going to watch Fode first. Oh, and that was the 0-0 of Mogard. And Fode in the chat, he is heated, expressing his displeasure I can tell you what happened with the other incident. Kruska just lost it all on his own on the low side. Actually got ran into by Stewart. We're going to watch the replay. Stewart did a beautiful job taking this one home because he plowed into him.
Ooh, that is quite a hit.
Who else there was wrecking? Trying to figure out the 88 and is that Cody, I believe? Regardless, we'll get that settled because it's time for a break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. The first green-white checkered in GSRC history delivered quite a bit of excitement. We'll come back and give you the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around, and on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to ISM Raceway. It just wouldn't be a NASCAR race without some sort of disagreement in Gasoline Alley afterwards. And boy, did we get quite a dramatic finish here in round 8. But Joseph Millet, some of the drivers were saying he took a deserved win. I think I have to concur. Joseph started in 7th, worked his way to the front, and battled his way to the victory even after restarting with the green-white checkers all the way back, and I believe it was 5th place. Cody Tripp followed him home in 2nd place. Jason Stewart was P3, and then Jack Wells finished in 4th. Josh Walker took a 5th position, with Jared Mogard controversially finishing in 6th. He and Tyler Fody have had some words post-race. Jody Banfield will finish in 7th, with Todd Slauson in 8th position. Cole Bushman finishes P9, and then Billy Kruska rounds out your top 10.
Well, Tyler Fody, unfortunately, a DNF, not crossing the line, so he'll finish 1 lap down in 11th. 12th was Connor Crichton in the 19. Brandon Anderson recovers to hang on to 13th after an incident early on. Colton Lane, DNF in the 14th position, as well as the other non-finishers, Scott Rickard, Connor Boris, and a did not start, Justin Jarrett in truck 16.
And I can confirm the other truck getting involved in the final accident out of turn 4 was Connor Crichton. But our winner today was Joseph Millet. And Joseph, we got the caution in time that we realized we were going to have that green-white checkered, and then we saw the pit stops happen. What was going through your head when you realized that Tyler Fody pulled a fake and stayed out? Were you worried at all, or you felt pretty confident you could get back to the front?
Oh, I knew the second that caution came out that my race was over, and I was going to make a fool out of myself on a broadcast again. But I got to thank Tyler, actually, because if he hadn't overdrove that corner, I don't think I would have won this race. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't think I was going to win. I was pretty disappointed, and to come back and win it, so that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun to watch. You qualified, though, surprisingly low. And we saw that you abandoned the second lap. We didn't get to see it, though. What happened that made you give up on lap 2 and put you back in 7th?
All practice. I just kind of realized I wasn't going to have the speed for qualifying. I couldn't figure it out, so race trim was more important for me. And once qualifying started, I missed lap 1 and lap 2. I didn't hit one right. I knew it was going to be a fence off turn 2, so I just abandoned it. And I said, "We'll just drive through the field," and we did.
Well, in the main season, you now have more wins than anybody else at 3, but we enter the playoffs here soon. What are your thoughts going into that? Are you nervous at all?
I'm not nervous. I'm just kind of driven. I've been in a lot of leagues before, and I've kind of got to the playoffs and just let it go. And I think this time I've got the right mindset. So we're gonna do my best and hopefully come out on top. You never know, but I got a lot of good competition. We'll see what happens. It should be exciting for sure.
I don't doubt that at all. This was fun to watch. That was our winner, Joseph Millet, who charged from 7th to the victory. Up next, second place is exactly where he started and finished. Cody Tripp is going to talk to Chris Phoebe.
Well, Cody, that was quite an adventure for you. I know you dropped back on the early start, and looks like you didn't really lose your confidence and find yourself towards the front at the end. Tell us about your ride.
I struggled in the second half of the race after the first caution, and I fell all the way back to like 8th. And then, unfortunately, with the fuel situation, we had to pit again, mix, and then I gotta say thank you, iRacing, for the green-white checkered, because that was a blessing. I fought back up. I just stood low and got out of the way of all that trouble, and brought home a second.
Yeah, I gotta ask. It seems like you came out of nowhere on that green-white checker finish to make it back up to second. Can you kind of walk us through what exactly had to happen for you to end up where you did?
For me to get anywhere back into the top 5, I was gonna need some guys to stay out and make that mistake, because what the green white checkers are supposed to do is supposed to defer people away from staying out and even taking 2 tires, because you saw the 7 wash right up in that first or the third turn. So I just took 4, and Joseph started in front of me, and I just followed him all the way.
So do you think with the way the green-white checker is designed, do you think it will push everybody to pit, or do you think guys that stay out like the 7 truck did today, do you think they may have a shot later on?
I think if the 7 comes in and takes 2, he maybe has a chance. I mean, there's just no way. We had a 30-something lap run. There's no way you can stay out and outlast guys. They're running almost 2 seconds faster, you know? So I think if those guys pit, maybe it would have been a little more interesting. But they didn't. I followed Joseph through, and it was a fun race for you guys to watch, I hope.
I can tell you we definitely had a good time, but best of luck in the playoffs, Cody, and hope to talk to you again real soon.
Chris?
That was Cody, second place finisher here in round 8. And we've got third place finisher Jason Stewart, who started in 14th, but as Bill Zonwood said, something of a illegitimate climb as he didn't qualify. So I have to ask Jason, having seen that you kind of hung back in the early stages, was this by design?
Yeah, I just showed up late and didn't have time to qualify.
So forced there almost in a way. So that makes the third very impressive. Rest of the race, you did get involved in quite a few little tussles in the mid pack. How do you keep a cool head in the middle of the race, knowing that you've got better pace, but you got trucks all around you just fighting tooth and nail?
I was just letting them burn off their tires, and then I'd pick them off one by one, and it seemed to work.
I'd say it did. Now, what about at the end? We were so focused on what was happening with all the trucks around you. Where did you restart on the green-white checkered, and how did you wind up in third?
8th, and those trucks on 2 tires that didn't work out and held up other trucks, and the chest pieces just fell in the right.
Well, it was fun to watch. I'm not sure if it was fun from the cockpit. How do you feel about the next round coming up when we head on over to Bristol? That is much more of a bull ring than here.
It's not one of my better tracks. I seem just to burn the tires off there, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, wishing you the best then. Podium, certainly hoping you take momentum into there. That was third place finisher Jason Stewart here today. And that is going to wrap up our interviews. Of course, we want to give a big thank you to the Sim Racers for Mental Health for bringing us on for covering this season. It's been a lot of fun watching them race from track to track. And of course, a big thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Chris, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page when you get an opportunity and hit that big red subscribe button so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. As we mentioned, heading over to Tennessee for the next round. That'll be Bristol, Wednesday, June 12th at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.